All right, here we are back. We're in week 4 now. We're going to go over our quiz review for the first quiz, which is due next week. Let's go ahead, pop over to the screen here. I've got this file is in Canvas available for you to look at. It's basic quiz review. It's everything we've kind of covered in class so far. Start off here with this picture, keeping in mind the parts of a table we have in a database now. This whole section is called the table. So the thing that stores your data in rows and columns here is the table. The columns you'll find they're called fields in database terminology. You're also called columns, but in the books and in technically it's called a field. And the rows are called records. So the row makes up a record, the column makes up a field, and the entire thing is what makes up the table. So just keep that in mind. Again, quick question, it's 20 questions, multiple choice. So just these are the kind of questions on there. You should know the following terms. Know what the primary key and the foreign key are. And if you remember, the primary key is the unique identifier that identifies a record. So like I always say, think of your G number, think of a driver's license number, think of your social security number, those kind of things. The foreign key is a column in another table that is not the primary key that the primary key can relate to in joining tables. So when you join two tables, so it would be like the foreign key would have your student ID, your G number, as a non-primary key table so that you can connect to it that way. So think of that. Query is the term for what we've been doing. When you do a select from in SQL and you hit run, that's querying the data. You're asking the database questions. That's the query. All right, know the following SQL commands here. These are the ones we've gone over in class so far. Select, from, join, where, order by. And remember, this is the order they're in, okay? Order is important. And with join, remember we have 4 types of joins. And they are inner, which is the default. We have a full outer, a left outer, and a right outer. And just know what those are and be able to identify them. And again, know the order stuff comes in. Okay. This comes up, and this is looking at the logic idea. And we're going to ask some questions here. I want you to consider the following inputs where C is 8, B is 6, and D is 2. Let's think about the following expression. Now, this is kind of to go forward for logic when you're doing some querying results here. But you think about this right here. What you sit there and say is that, C is less than B, which is correct, or C is less than B, which is wrong. But B is less than D, which is also wrong. So they're both no. So or, but with an or of either one, it would be okay, If it was an and, on the other hand, then you would have to both be. So if or of either one of these, if I change this one here to C is greater than B, then the answer that comes out is yes, it's true. And the computer is going to probably say 1. If I made this an and, though, if that was an and, both would have to be correct to be correct. One negative negates the entire thing with an and. So in order for an and to work, both have to be true for you to get true. Otherwise, you'll get a false or a 0. Okay. This is important to remember. Scaling up. Scaling up is what we think about with our relational database. That's upgrading, physically replacing hardware or server specs on a cloud database that resides on to meet growth needs. You can't just add stuff. You have to, completely most of these systems you'll have to completely repartition what you want for the database. So it's a big deal. Scaling up becomes an issue. Scaling out, spreading out across often low spec servers and computers to meet growth needs. That's used in your NoSQL type things, like your Hadoop is a big user of that kind of feature. So in the relational, just remember, if we're talking scaling up, we're talking relational databases. Scaling out, we're normally talking NoSQL or non-relational. Question, who's the most important person to consult with when designing a database? Users in the department. Okay, don't talk to the other IT guys. Don't talk to the database. Talk to people who actually are going to be using the database so you can get the answer. Understand this chart, and that remember that you iterate over these two the most. The most real world is they come with a problem, you build a model, you come back with the model, and they say, yeah, we just need to add this. So it's just a back and forth a bunch of times. By the time you get to like the software design application, you've kind of hammered that whole thing out. So just remember, if the question comes up, where do you spend most of your time? It's in these two boxes right there. Okay, finally, let's take a look at a UML, which is used for here for showing a data model. And when we're looking at data models, we're using different terms now. This, instead of a table, this is now called a class. So this box is a class. What will become the columns or fields, these are called attributes. Okay. This line indicates a relationship. So these two tables are related. And these numbers here you'll see, this indicates cardinality. You will not be asked to like dive into what the cardinality is. Just know that the cardinality exists. That's considered cardinality. So that's pretty much it for this first quiz. Good luck, and I hope to see you back in next class.